Hi, I'm Brent from FuseNeo, and today on Unpacked, we're going to be talking about the birds and the bees. It's actually about a mama brand and a dad. When a brand and a manufacturer get together, I'm going to keep this PG. Packaging is made in factories, right? It's pretty basic. There are places that mold plastics, and they bend metals, they press papers, they assemble things, they print. There's a lot of different processes. There's a lot of different machines that are at work to make packaging. But a brand doesn't interface with those machines directly. They are interfacing with the people that run those machines. Or they're buying from the people that design things for the people that run those machines. Or they're buying them from the people who broker them, from the people who design, from the people who, I don't know. Speaking of birds, there are three different buckets that we can think of here. There's the creative agencies, there's the manufacturers, and there's the middlemen. Creative agencies, you've got graphics agencies and industrial design agencies that are doing the graphics component or the structural component to your packaging. You have the manufacturers who are doing the ultimate production and assembly or whatever it is of that component. And then you have these middlemen and brokers that certain brands need to play intermediary between their design and their production or manage their sourcing. So let's start all the way over here on this end, on the design side, where packaging first gets thought of, created, or whatever. There's a couple of different types of companies that you need to know about. If we're working on, so we're going to start over on there are a lot of graphic design firms and branding agencies that say they do packaging work. What they're actually doing is the graphics on top of the packaging, not actually the structure that goes with it. So when you're looking to apply a label on a bottle that's existing, or you're looking to just put graphics onto a box or things like that, a graphics agency is going to be great. They'll likely do the job. I mean, you've got their capabilities, but they're capable of doing that. There are components of pre-press and some other things that they may not be familiar with, depending on their level of technical expertise. But a lot of times the printer, the manufacturer can help you work through some of those issues. When you're thinking about structural, those types of agencies don't really understand shelf life and manufacturing constraints and assembly and capping and just the whole process. What types of materials really need to be involved? How do those materials come together? When you're talking about custom packaging, there's a lot of complexity to it. And hopefully we'll unpack more in future videos, but there's just a lot of different factors that go into that. And that's where a structural agency comes in. So there's graphic designers, and then there are industrial designers. Those industrial designers are ones that are typically thinking more about that, about the user experience, the materials, the way things come together, stuff like that. So where are we? So let's go from the creative end all the way down to the dirty end, the production side. The manufacturing side. There are obviously manufacturers for every different type of packaging component, whether you're talking about corrugated or paper or foam, pulp, thermoforming, blow molding, injection molding. All these different types of processes have their manufacturers. And their manufacturers know their material and their process really well, which means they can design for that really well if it's their process. So if you go to a company that makes boxes and you say, what's the best thing for my product? They're going to make you a box. And rightly so, they're going to make you a box that they can make well and sell efficiently and profitably. So they are... So going direct to a manufacturer is great when you know what you need and maybe when you have that kind of volume. But again, knowing that they design specifically for their own process, really, they don't think across materials. The way that they do design work, if you go to them and some of them have creative agencies built within their organization, they will do the work for free, the design work for free. That usually comes with a contract to buy, a 5-year contract for a certain number of units, and you have commitments on what to buy at a certain cost. They essentially just take that upfront design cost and bake it into the parts. You also don't want to go directly to a manufacturer if you don't know what the materials are and the processes are, or you don't have the capabilities to manage them directly, or maybe your team is too small. So there are a number of different reasons you may or may not want to go directly to a manufacturer. So we've covered both ends. This middle space is reserved for brokers and distributors. Distributors are really companies that sell stock packaging. They go out to a bunch of different manufacturers and they buy stock components from those manufacturers. Again, this is more in the rigid space, so not so much on the corrugated or paperboard space, but this is more when you're talking about bottles and caps and things like that. But they would buy those components and then sell those to somebody who wants low volumes. They sell to a lot of different low volume companies. Then brokers will get involved potentially on custom sides, but they become basically a middleman between you and a manufacturer. They know a lot of different small manufacturers and they may know how to interface with a large manufacturer. And they're basically the go-between or the middleman between a brand and a manufacturer. A lot of this comes down to ownership and scale and the future and things like that. So what we don't want brands to do is make a decision that locks them in the future. And so a lot of these contracts, whether that's with brokers or with manufacturers, really tie up intellectual property, and they lock a brand into one specific manufacturer. As a brand grows, they may find a better manufacturer is closer or better suited for their growing business. They may find a different process is more suitable, or they may find that they need multiple manufacturers just for redundancy's sake. So in summary, it's really all about what your brand needs and where you're at. What size is your brand? What do you know about packaging? What do you know that you want? Are you sure what you want, or does it still need to be thought up and concepted? Do you understand the formats and the materials and things like that you may want involved? How much do you want to manage? Do you want to interface with the manufacturer directly? Do you want to go between? Do you want stock, or do you want to step into the world of custom? We have another video talking about stock versus custom. Check that out. I think we're going to explore that more even in the future. But just think about whether you're wanting stock or custom, and that will help you make that decision as well. So hopefully that helps explain a little bit about the birds and the bees of packaging and where it comes from and the players that are involved. And stay tuned for more. Give it a like. Let us know if you have any questions or comments. Thanks.